Have you ever loved someone so deeply that when they left, it felt like you lost a part of yourself? The sleepless nights, the endless questions. What did I do wrong? Could I have saved this? The pain feels unbearable, and in those moments the world tells you to move on, but no one tells you how. But what if I told you that the answer isn't in trying to forget, but in learning to let go? The Stoic way. In today's episode, we're diving into a real story of heartbreak and healing, a story that shows how ancient Stoic wisdom can help you survive the storm and come out stronger, calmer, and free. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll discover not just how to heal a broken heart, but how to find a kind of peace that no one can take away from you ever again. Emma Brooks never believed in fate. At 29, she was a rising attorney in New York City, sharp-minded, disciplined, and busy. Love was something she had relegated to someday, filed neatly between retirement planning and learn French. Then she met James Turner. It wasn't anything cinematic, no spilled coffee, no grand romantic music. Just two people reaching for the same book at the Strand bookstore on a rainy Saturday. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. He smiled first. She hesitated, then smiled back. "Good choice," he said, tapping the worn cover. "Required reading," she replied, slipping the book into her basket. That should have been it, a simple moment. But somehow it wasn't. They wandered the store together, shared coffee afterward, and talked until the rain stopped. Emma hadn't planned for James. James hadn't planned for Emma. But some things they learned aren't planned. The first months were golden. Late-night walks, spontaneous road trips, shared dreams over wine. James, a freelance writer, lived simply. He wasn't ambitious in the traditional sense. He prized time over titles, freedom over fortune. He introduced Emma to ideas she'd studied but never lived. Minimalism, mindfulness, the real meaning behind Stoic acceptance. He was the ocean, she was the cliff. And slowly, tension began to seep in. Emma was driven, future-focused. She made plans, drew timelines. Marriage by 32, kids by 35, mortgage by 36. James didn't believe in fixed timelines. "We have now," he would say, brushing a stray hair from her forehead. "Isn't that enough?" At first, she tried to adjust. She reminded herself of Marcus Aurelius's wisdom. Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together. But late at night, staring at the ceiling while James slept peacefully beside her, anxiety gnawed at her chest. Could love alone be enough? Or was it just another story we tell ourselves to soften the harder truths? It was a Sunday morning argument that broke the surface tension. Emma wanted to schedule a meeting with a realtor. James wanted to spend the day writing in the park. "It's always about the next thing with you," he said, voice tight. "And you," she snapped, "act like the future will just magically take care of itself." Silence. She felt the weight of her words immediately, but pride kept her frozen. James left without another word. For 3 days he didn't call. She didn't either. Each waited for the other to break first. Neither did. Instead, Emma turned to the only comfort she knew: structure. She reread Letters from a Stoic by Seneca. She journaled obsessively, trying to will herself into detachment. Control what you can, release what you can't. But the deeper she dove into Stoicism, the clearer a painful realization surfaced. Love isn't control, and people aren't projects. James eventually called. They met at their usual cafe, but the easy comfort was gone. Conversation limped along. Finally, he looked her in the eye and said, "I love you, but I don't think we want the same kind of life." Her throat closed up. She wanted to scream, argue, plead. But the teachings of Epictetus whispered through the storm. When someone does you wrong, immediately consider what notion of good or evil they are acting on. Once you know that, you'll feel compassion, not anger. James wasn't wrong. Neither was she. They simply stood at a crossroad neither had built. With shaking hands, Emma reached across the table and took his hand. "I love you too," she said quietly. "Enough to let you go." They sat there, hands clasped, two people loving each other but loving truth even more. The aftermath. The first few weeks were brutal. Emma would instinctively reach for her phone to text James about a funny Subway ad or an annoying client. And then remember, grief, she learned, wasn't just sadness. It was habit without an outlet. It was love that no longer had a name to call home. But she didn't fight it. She lived it. She let it pass through her like a storm over ancient stones. Slowly, she began to rebuild. She moved apartments. She learned pottery. She read more deeply, not just Stoicism, but philosophy of all kinds. And somewhere along the way, she understood. Love wasn't measured by whether it lasted forever. It was measured by how deeply it changed you. James had changed her, and she had changed him. Nothing could take that away. 2 years later, Emma stood on the rooftop of her building, watching the sunset burn gold across the Hudson. She was still an attorney, still busy, but different now. She didn't chase what wasn't hers. She didn't cling to what didn't want to stay. She loved more quietly, more bravely. And sometimes, in quiet moments, she thought of James. She hoped he was well, maybe writing in a little cabin by the sea. She smiled. The love was still there, stripped of expectation, untouched by time. As Seneca had said, "He who has peace within himself, because he desires nothing too much, has reached true freedom." Emma had found that freedom, and that, she realized, was the real love story, not between her and James, but between her and life itself. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. And so, if you're sitting there right now, heart heavy, mind racing, wondering how to move on, remember Emma's story. The Stoics teach us that real strength isn't about hardening your heart. It's about softening your grip. Letting go, not because you stop caring, but because you finally understand. What's meant to stay will stay, and what's meant to leave was never yours to control. Like Emma, you don't have to erase the love or the memories. You simply have to free them from expectation. You grieve, yes, but you don't drown. You feel, but you don't cling. You love, but you let life flow as it always will. Because true peace, the kind no heartbreak can steal, comes when you stop wrestling with reality and start walking with it. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept whatever comes to you, woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs." So breathe, release, and trust that on the other side of letting go is not emptiness. It's freedom, it's strength, it's your return to stillness. Thank you for staying with me today. If this story spoke to you, share it with someone who might need these words too. And remember, the storm will pass. You will remain. If this story sparked something in you, a quiet fire, a moment of stillness, or the courage to take one step closer to who you really are, then you're in the right place. We're building a space for thinkers, dreamers, and doers, for those who seek depth in a world full of noise. If that sounds like you, hit the like button, drop a comment to share your thoughts or your own story. I'd love to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe, because this is just the beginning. There's so much more to come. See you in the next one.